The Tennessee Volunteers return home after throttling NC State, and they welcome the Kent State Golden Flashes in Knoxville for another non-conference showdown. We are here previewing, predicting, and breaking down this game between the Vols and the Golden Flashes. Hello, everyone. I'm Chris Phillips. He's Dave Shumate. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. Make sure you like, subscribe, turn notifications. Check us out via podcast wherever you get your podcast. You can also find us across all social media platforms as well as our website, SECUnfiltered.com. This segment brought to you by our friends over at MYBOOKIE. Go to mybookie.ag. Use promo code SECU at sign up to receive a special welcome offer on your first deposit. That's mybookie.ag, promo code SECU to get your special welcome offer today. The Tennessee Volunteers return home after a big-time win last week in Charlotte, North Carolina, and they welcome the Kent State Golden Flashes to Neyland Stadium for a non-conference showdown. Helping me break down this game, preview it, predicted, and everything in between, my good friend Dave Shumate joins me once again. Dave, what's going on? Appreciate you taking the time and excited to break down this one with you.
Yeah, big one in Knoxville, baby. Big one in Knoxville. Yeah, the fighting Nick Saban's rolling into town, baby. Kent State Golden Flashes. Yeah, this is the biggest line of the weekend, right? In SEC games,
48.5. Yes,
got it. I mean, Kent State's
biggest line.
0-2, lost to Pitt and St. Francis College of Pennsylvania. Yeah, not one of the Golden Flash's best teams, I think, that are rolling in here in Knoxville. Sorry, Golden Flash fans that are listening to this, but yeah, I mean, Tennessee. I feel like here really the goal is CP. I hate to say this, and it just sounds real cliche, but like you're just hoping you have no injuries before you go roll into Norman in your SEC opener. I mean, that's the only thing it could probably just totally derail this game where you're like, yeah, we lost this one. I mean, you're not going to lose it on the field. Like we talked about, there's a bigger gap than ever. Kent State's coming over for the MAC. I know there was a MAC team that beat a Power 4 team in Notre Dame last week in Northern Illinois, but this isn't Northern Illinois. This is one of the worst teams in the MAC. This is one of the best teams, I think, in the SEC and in the country. Yeah, it's not going to go good for them. I'll be interested to see how Tennessee and Josh Heupel handle the rotations a little bit, just of anybody. I mean, they're deep on the defensive line. I feel like they still got to work on finding a true number two at running back. Is it Deshaun Bishop after Dylan Sampson? Figuring out some of the receiver rotations. But outside of that, it's a name your score. Let's try to figure out some guys. Like me and you were previewing, talking Texas a little bit. For anybody who's going to check that out, the Texas UTSA preview. Talking about guys they can trust, because I think Tennessee's one of those teams. It's like we're not preparing just for a 12-13 schedule. We're preparing for a 17-game schedule. So we need to find out some competitive depth that we can trust, we can trust in this game with some game action. Continue to monitor throughout practice, and if someone goes down, they got to be the next man up.
With the SEC title, with the college football playoff, potentially, to your point, Dave, it's never been more important to have that competitive depth, not just depth, but depth that can come in and help win you football games. Dave, this game, a 7:45 p.m. Eastern time kickoff on SEC Network, kind of a late one, at Neyland Stadium there in Knoxville. Again, like you mentioned, Tennessee, a 48.5-point favorite. The over-under set at 62.5. This is the first ever meeting, by the way, between the two schools. Tennessee and Kent State have never met on the football field. As we dive in the Golden Flashes, you mentioned it, 0-2 on this season. They lost 55-24 at Pitt and 23-17 last week against St. Francis. Their quarterback is Devin Cargman, but that's not why he's noteworthy, Dave. Nothing to do with his stats or anything. I was doing my research, and this man has one of the best heads of hair you will ever see and a mustache to go with it. So if you're in the stadium on Saturday night and you think it's sunshine, no, it's just Devin Cargman leading the Golden Flashes. But, again, the roster picture is something to behold. I'm sure they're going to show it on the scoreboard. His hair is fantastic. Can't say enough good things. Kai Thomas, Curtis Douglas are your top running backs for Kent State. Luke Ferreira, Krishan McCray are your top receivers. Cameron Olds, top pass rusher on defense. He's got 3.5 tackles for loss and 3 sacks at this point. Dave, through the first 2 games of the season, Kent State, they are giving up 282 yards per game through the air in their first 2 games. So you got to think Josh Heupel and company.
Who's swinging the lot for St. Francis there, Chris? Guy needs to go into the portal.
I honestly couldn't tell you. I didn't dive that deep into it. I'm gonna go ahead and admit At one point, it was former South Carolina quarterback Jason Brown. I can tell you from that a couple of years ago, but right now I have.
Pitt has the former Bama quarterback in there. I know they put Eli Holstein.
Yeah, good point. Good point. So, Dave, again, you mentioned it. This is a name your score game. We're not going to go crazy in depth. There is absolutely no chance at an upset here, and I promise Tennessee fans I'm not trying to jinx anything. I guess the question is this, Dave. Read between the lines of last week's NC State win, 51-10. Because I think one of the things most encouraging, I don't think Tennessee played a perfect game, right? Nico had a pair of interceptions in the game. I'm sure if you asked him, he didn't play his best game. There's some things he wants to clean up. So that's really encouraging. He didn't even play his best, Dave, and they won by 40. Like, I think that's why people are one of the reasons people are excited about Tennessee. But when you look at this game, Dave, doesn't it feel like it really is a tune-up? I mean, this is – let's clean up everything that maybe if there were some things that we didn't do as well as we would have liked last week. Let's clean some things up. Again, in a game like this, we talked about mentioned Texas and UTSA. It's about personnel and more so than final score, because the final score is going to be in your favor. But you want to see individual guys go out there, have big performances. You did mention the running back position. I think that one is key. Who is the guy behind Dylan Sampson that gives them that 1-2 punch? They've got bodies, obviously, but just who is that RB2 that they're going to be able to depend on? Rotating guys in defensively in that front seven. You talked about it this week, Dave, the depth. That was one thing that gave Tennessee the edge in the game against NC State. The fact they're able to rotate guys in and keep guys fresh, continuing to develop that. And just any loose ends you may feel like you have going into this week, you want to try to get those cleaned up as much as possible before you begin SEC play and take on the Oklahoma Sooners next week in Norman, and obviously what's going to be a massive game.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you're like you said, you want to continue the flow offensively. Nico hadn't been completely sharp. I mean, he was that first game against the Moxie, UT Chattanooga, but left some meat on the bone, left some meat on the table last week. I feel like at times against NC State, he didn't play his best. The defense and Tim Banks is really what stood out to me. Maybe you see him get some simple throws for Nico right off the bat to the tight end. What Bama transfer, Miles Kittlesman, Holden Stays, the Notre Dame transfer. Maybe you see the tight ends get a little bit more involved in this game. And maybe it's a Mike Matthews game, the true freshman wide receiver out there. Caleb Webb, another kid from Atlanta they could throw in there. Chaz Nimrod. I think you see those kind of three guys. Nimrod, Webb, and Matthews are guys to keep an eye on from the receiving core, I think. Because I think you're going to get Brew McCoy out. I think you're going to get Squirrel out. I think you're going to get Dante Thornton out pretty quickly. Let's go see that next round of dudes. Again, Tennessee's expecting to go play a 17-game schedule, a 15 to 17-game schedule. They know they're going to need depth, just like every other team in the country. So these are the games that are like, hey, let's go see the guys we can trust under the lights in Neyland. I know it's not Florida. I know it's not Alabama. I know it's not Georgia. That raises the level of play. But still, it's another college team, another group of five team coming to our house. Right, wrong, and different. They're not good. But, hey, let's go see it translate in front of 100,000 people instead of from the practice field, because we're going to have to trust you probably come December, January. So those three receivers, the tight ends, would be somebody offensively I'd say. I think defensively, I mean, the front's really good. We talked about the depth on the show last night when Dave talks ball. Secondary, I mean, you're not going to know anything about them this week. I mean, Javad McCoy, the Oregon State transfer, looked good, but you're not going to find anything out this week. So I'm not really looking for that. It's just more just Nico going through his third start. Let's go, or fourth start technically, but third this year. Let's just keep him in a routine, because I think next week's going to be, again, Oklahoma struggled offensively, but that defense, I think, is going to show a lot of looks between Zach Alley and Brent Venables, and they don't really have a ton of holes across all three of those levels. That's something I'm sure Josh Heupel and the boys will be working on when they're factoring this game plan this week. And I'm sure they'll throw. They're gonna throw a bunch of fronts and looks that Oklahoma's gonna show them this week. They're probably using this. I hate to say this against Kent State, but it's gonna be kind of used as a bye week a little bit.
Going to be a lot of gamesmanship, Dave, I think, in this one. Tennessee. You're probably going to put a lot of things out there on tape that you want to make Oklahoma think about. Maybe some of it's just window dressing and some of it's, legitimate, but you want to make them think and you want to make them work real, real hard next week when they're getting ready. You mentioned rotating guys in offensively. I think defensively it'll be interesting. Is James Pierce on a pitch count again? I mean, he only played 10 snaps in the first game. So, I mean, what do you think? They give him 10 snaps again and just say, hey, we're going to hold the horse back in the stable until we go next week.
Any of the big time guys they got up front for sure. Amari Thomas probably won't play a lot.
Well, and you mentioned too, Dave. I mean, again, that's the only way in a game like this you can feel like a win is a loss. If, God forbid, a guy gets his ankle rolled up on, or something happens in in the trenches down there, something silly happens and you lose a guy for a couple weeks or God forbid the entire season. So
yeah, I mean, I'd rather win this game 31-17 than win it
right.
56-0. But in that 56-0 loss, I lost my interior defensive tackle for the season.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of like, oh God, yeah, give me the 31-17 ugly loss, but we're healthy.
Yeah, and you know Josh Heupel. Josh Heupel and company know that. And I mean, I would expect, again, this is, to your point, name your score game, empty the bench, you know, build your depth. And again, just take care of any loose ends you have because, you know, you have Oklahoma the following week, and I don't care how Oklahoma's looked. You know, going into Norman, that's the hottest ticket there. And over, you know, they've told me over 10 years and we might get college game day. Who knows? Who knows? But all eyes are going to be on that ball game. Josh Heupel going back to Norman. Just keep everybody in a groove. Keep everybody in a rhythm. I will expect they're going to attack this game the right way. There will be no hangover after a victory, feeling good about yourself, patting yourself in the back. I think the Tennessee run game, Dave, is what's really going to. I mean, Josh Heupel made the point. Like we run the football and we play defense, right? Like, but they love to run the football. There's the misconception from some that it's just throw it all over the yard, just the veer and shoot thing. And it's like, bro, they love to run the football. So I would expect them to pound the rock again. I think they'll get Nico in a groove, but I wouldn't be surprised if he only throws like 14 or 15 passes.
Don't let him run either.
No. Slide, young man. Don't take a hit. Don't take a hit. I'm sure they're going to
go get Gaston Moore or Jake Merklinger, the true freshman for Savannah, some reps at quarterback.
Yeah. I would be surprised if Nico Iamaleava plays in the second half. I'd be surprised, honestly. You know, again, get him in a groove early, build a lead, get him out of there, and empty the bench. Because, you know, Dave, too, thinks something we hadn't talked about. Like, it's a great sales pitch to recruits and to players when you can say, hey, like, we play everybody. You know, we play all of these guys. You come
especially now when
we're going to play.
We need more guys, and we need to see who we can trust in big games, and it starts here in these games against UT Chattanooga and Kent State.
There's a different emphasis on these games now, to your point, because of more games, longer seasons, et cetera. So,
treat it a little bit like preseason.
A little bit. Yeah, a little bit. So you can help you. Dave, that being said, let's go ahead and dive in our predictions. Like we said, we're not going to overcomplicate this one or, create this as it's rocket science or something. So I'll let you start. How do you see this one playing out Saturday night in Knoxville?
I'm going to go fit. I'm going to go the buckshot. I'm going to go the big donut. We're going to go the big zero. We're going to go Vols 56-0. They're going to take a lot of momentum into Norman. They're going to be hyped up a lot going into that game. It scares me a little bit. I'm not ready to give a prediction on that game. But I think Tennessee's smart enough to do it. They're working on Oklahoma. They're showing their team looks, whether their team even realizes what they're doing or not. Same with Texas and them. But I think it's going to be a dominant performance. 56-0. You're going to see, like I said, Gaston Moore, Jake Merklinger in the second half. Again, those three guys, Chase Nimrod, Caleb Webb, Mike Matthews. I think you're going to see a lot of those guys in the first half and try to build up some depth on the back end. Probably, I don't know how much it'll even get tested, really, because Kent State's not really throwing the rock or at a competent level. But again, some guys, let's see who you can go trust. Inevitably, everybody's pretty thin on the back end. You're going to get some injuries come conference play. You're going to need some guys at least to get you through some games, see who we can trust. Big win Saturday night in Neyland, getting you set up for the big homecoming for Josh Heupel in the first SEC game of the 24 campaign for the Vols. But 56-0 CP. Put me down for it.
Yeah, Dave. I mean, you mentioned
Nick Saban ain't playing DB. It's not a no flag zone anymore. Yeah.
It's not. You mentioned the passing game for Kent State. They're only averaging 191.5 yards per game through their first two games. Dave, they're averaging let me make sure I've got this correct here. Okay, yes. 54.5 yards per game rushing, and they are averaging giving up 199 yards per game on the ground through the first two games. So it'll be a dominant performance. I mean, I fully expect Tennessee to, again, young guys will be in there early second half at minimum. I think, again, they'll want to keep everybody in a groove, clean up some things from last week, but Tennessee runs away with this one. It's a name your score game. It's an empty the bench game. I got 66-7 Vols get the dub. I'm giving Kent State a touchdown out of the goodness of my heart, and because the quarterback has great hair. I'll give it that. I'll give him that. I'll give him 7 for that hair mustache combo.
7 to push him over the goal line.
I'll give him 7 for that hair mustache combo, but I can't do any more than that. So Tennessee wins. Tennessee wins big, 66-7. And to your point, I think they use this week actually to really prep for Oklahoma and put some things on tape, clean some things up, and get ready for a big-time showdown in Norman next weekend. So, guys, let us know what you think. Do you agree with us? Do you disagree? How will this thing play out when Tennessee and Kent State do battle on Saturday night in Knoxville? Guys, appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. Make sure you like, subscribe, turn notifications. Check us out via podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. You can also find us across all social media platforms, as well as our website, SECUnfiltered.com. Until next time, he's Dave Shumate. I'm Chris Phillips. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in, and we'll catch you on the other side.